Hi there, welcome back. We're back to the Grundig 4006, and in the last video I did the AM section, did the alignment. It was pretty simple and the result was actually pretty good. The reception is fairly good. I was a bit surprised about the quiet sections between stations, but I did check the front end. I did do an antenna alignment, or try to. There was no need for that. So I guess this is just the way the radio is designed. It is a very quiet radio between stations. The AGC or the AVC is working well. That could also have been one of the causes, but it seems it's not. So I'll live with the mystery. But anyway, the FM section still needs attention. What I'm going to try to do is actually align this FM section. In other words, treat it as working. I know that it's completely out of tune for now, but we'll see how close we can get, because my friend Derek has made a second attempt at sending me this front end. The first one got shipped back with some damage to the casing, but it's on its way. So I have done a cleanup on all this, and I've actually used for the first time brake cleaner, taking a bit of advice from Dave Tipton. And I must say, I'm pretty pleased with the result. It cleans a lot easier than isopropyl alcohol, and I believe it's actually a lot cheaper. Always a good thing. But while I wait for that, and before I try to work on this version of the front end, I think there's quite a bit of cosmetic stuff that I can still do. I think what I'm going to do next is just remove the front, the faceplate, remove the knobs or clean the knobs, get this whole section cleaned up, because there's still quite a bit on the inside here that needs cleaning. And that's one more step taken. So that's what I'm going to get on with now. After that musical interlude, I think it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty. I need to check how the FM is. Now, with the actual FM front end open, there's no telling what somebody did in here, and I'm almost afraid to guess. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat it as working and try and do an alignment as per the instructions. Now, normally I would feed a signal to the ECC85 tube on the FM front end, and I would basically do a simultaneous adjustment, a one-stage adjustment where I would adjust both IF transformers. The FM sections have a core top and bottom on that one, and also on that one. And on that one you normally have that, the discriminator one. So there's always one core on the second IF transformer, which is a little bit more complicated. However, this is assuming that everything is working well. We don't know what's happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what they suggest, which is to feed a signal before that tube over there, which is the EF89, and that is just before the second IF transformer over there. After the IF transformer, you then have the discriminator and you have audio. So after that, you've got your outputs. So basically we're going back in the circuit. And if we can check that that section is working, then we go to the preceding section and make sure that that IF transformer is working or is well tuned. And then we go to the preceding section, and that is to see whether that one's well tuned. So effectively you're making sure one step at a time that your IF signal is getting out at the end, is going through the middle, and is being passed through from the head, from the start. It basically takes the signal all the way through to the output, and it makes sure that every stage is tuned properly. So even if our front end is messed up, the rest of the stages might be working or can be adjusted and aligned properly, so we can then isolate the problem to the front end. This is the second IF transformer over here. There's the first IF transformer over here. And we are feeding the signal into here. This is the IF amplifier. So 10.7 megahertz signal goes into here. It gets fed through this IF transformer. This is the top section, which is the FM section. And it comes out here to the, basically to the detector or decoder or discriminator. I keep forgetting the terms. And what happens is you send the signal here and you tune this IF transformer. Then you take it from there, once this one is tuned properly, and you go one step back. So you go to this tube, to this grid of the ECH81. That is fed in there, again 10.7 megahertz, the IF frequency. That gets pushed through there, and this one now gets tuned to make sure that the 10.7 gets through correctly to the previous point that you measured through. So you're doing it backwards. And once you know that those two are aligned properly, you've got one more, which is this one over here. Coming out of the FM front end, you've got these two coils that you again have to tune to the IF frequency. You've got basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, 5 of those coils can be tuned by looking at one characteristic, one measurement, which is just beyond here. We'll see it in the next schematic. And that is the strength of the carrier that comes through. And it's measured across that capacitor, which you can barely see there, but we can see it better on the other page of the schematic. And that is over there. That capacitor there is where you would normally put a voltmeter, and you would get a negative voltage, a negative DC voltage, which would be an indication of the strength of the signal coming through. So the higher the negative DC voltage you get, the more aligned it is. So you align it till you get the maximum or the peak negative DC voltage. Now what they tell us to do here is to actually measure not there, but rather at this point here, which is across resistor R17. It's basically the same thing, because that voltage there, that capacitor, comes through a 4.7K resistor and meets this 22K resistor. So basically all you're doing is you're measuring it here and you're isolating this point through that resistor so that your measuring equipment has less effect on what you're getting up there. So you're measuring across here. That is for the first 5 settings, the first 5 cores that you adjust, including this one over here. Now the last one here, this one here is the one where you're trying to perfect the slope of the decoding. And the method that they choose to do here is they tell you to feed the same 10.7 megahertz through there. They tell you to modulate it with an AM signal. Although this is an FM, they tell you to modulate that with an AM signal, and then you adjust that one till your AM coming through, the audio tone coming through, is as low as possible. Okay, because this is basically AM rejection, amplitude modulation rejection. When you're rejecting the amplitude modulation the most, or as effectively as possible, then you know you're on the right slope. A lot of stuff to go into there if you want to, but you're on the right slope to do the FM decoding properly, which is what this guy does here, or at least part of this does it. The other part is for the AM. What we're going to do there, which is the this last one, is I'm actually going to feed the 10.7 megahertz. I'm going to feed it with an AM signal, and I'm going to measure the amplitude of that AM signal over here at the speaker, and I want that to be a minimum. So I'll set it up. I've shown you on the schematic what I'm doing, and I'm sure that I'll be able to refer to this and remind you what it is that I'm doing as we go along. I've got 10.7 megahertz coming out of the signal generator. It's at 20 millivolts. I don't know if that's too much or too low. I can attenuate it on the switch attenuator here as I need it. There's no modulation, it's just a carrier. That is being fed to the grid of the EF89. The multimeter is measuring at resistor R17. And of course, both of those are referenced to ground, which is that little plate over there. And the voltmeter is set to DC volts, but it's negative DC volts because I'm measuring a negative voltage. I've got it on the 3 volt setting. And I'm getting approximately 1 volt over there, minus 1 volt. So we'll see what happens when I do the tweaking. And according to this, I want to adjust these two. So A is on top of the chassis, B is below the chassis, B is the AM rejection, A is looking for normal amplitude, maximum amplitude. So here we go. Let me try that one. Make sure you don't touch that because there's some high voltages on there. No, wrong way. It's going up. There's my peak. That is a peak over there. Okay, that one's done. Now I'm going to give the signal some AM modulation, and we can hear it there. I've now set the meter across the speaker wires, and this is on AC volts, and let's go down till we get to there. If I adjust the amplitude, the volume control, yep, there we go. Now I'm going to adjust that top one. This guy over here, and I want minimum amplitude. Nope. There we go. And if I go further, it should go up again. Yep. So there's my peak. Negative peak or minimum peak. So that is done as well. Next step. This thing is set back to measuring across that resistor. Where were we? Over here. Yep. Careful not to short anything. goes back to DC volts. And now I need to go one step back and tune C and D, these two guys, there and there, one at the bottom, one at the top. And for that, I need to connect the signal to the input of ECC, where is it? ECH81. So the grid of ECH81. So, best thing to do here, switch it off. You really don't want shorts, especially when your fingers are in the way. So we'll take it from there, and we've got to connect it to the grid of ECH81, which is pin 2, and that's over there. Again, careful not to short anything. Put it back on. And one thing I need to do is I need to drop the amplitude. I don't know how much, so I'm just going to give it as much attenuation as I think necessary. That is still not enough. As you can see, it's going up pretty crazily there. Let me make this smaller, 2 millivolts RMS. I can now remove some attenuation. Let's make it a bit bigger. Yeah, about there. Okay. Now let me try and tune the top one there, first of all. That's pretty good. That's a peak. And now the bottom one, which is that guy over there. No, wrong way. Ah, that's just right. That was peaked. So what have we found really? The only thing that was really out was that top one, the discriminator one, which was allowing too much AM to come through. Next step is these two guys over here, and this is inside that front IF can. And if we look at the drawing of the can, it says E and F, which is that one and that one. Now we've got to try and identify them on that open can. I already have, and I'll show you. It's actually that guy there and that guy there. But before that, I need to feed the signal, lightly coupling it to the ECC85 tube. So, switch it off again. Remove it from the grid of the ECH81. And to lightly couple, I have a tube here with a few coils wound around it. And I just connect this here and here. And now this is basically a coil which I'm going to slip over the top of the ECC85 tube. The front end, FM front end tube, slip it over the top there. And now I need to, well, switch things on there. Switch it on. I need to give it a bit more amplitude because I believe the amplitude will be far too low for me to see much. And I'm just touching the coupling, getting it just right. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to tweak these guys. Now, before actually getting to this point, I ran into a problem. I actually thought that this core was completely removed. It wasn't in fact removed. It was just totally down at the bottom, right at the bottom. It was way in there. And so I started unwinding it to try and get it to where I think it should be. And I really don't know if it's peaked or not. So this one I'm actually doing for the second time, because the first time was just basically trying to figure out what was going on. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Is it going to peak? Oh yeah, that's a peak. Now these two are interrelated. So if I adjust one, I might have to adjust the other as well. And I'm not really sure. You see, wherever I put this one, let me give that another turn, I may be able to peak that one even further. Wrong. I'm going to put this one up again. Let's go down here. You know what? That looks pretty good. I'm surprised. I really am surprised that I've got this thing tuning properly. Now, I know I'm getting FM. I know it's being received on the wrong frequencies, but that is an RF alignment. So as far as I'm concerned, the IF alignment for the FM, for the 10.7 megahertz, has gone very well. Let me give this a, well, let me turn off the signal generator. I'm going to give it a FM. Yeah, I'm going to give it a FM modulation. Boom. There we go. That sounds like a good sine wave. Is it? I don't know. But we shall see. All right. Turn off the modulation. Our alignment is done. And that brings us to the test of the FM. And it's actually quite interesting what result we've got, because we're picking up, I believe, a fair amount better than it was before. Can't stop on music. However, there's something interesting going on here. If I go down here and we come down to 87, we get absolutely nothing. You can just see the dial pointer on there. It is now on 88, which is the first station that I receive. 89, still nothing. 90, still nothing. Almost 91. Okay, so this almost 91 is actually a station that's supposed to be down here at 88. So I'm hoping that I can adjust that, correct that, simply by doing the RF alignment of this. But I will cut it short for now and do a bit of experimentation and report back as soon as I've got some more news. So I'm pretty pleased with the result. I'm happy that this thing is actually working. And the sound is very good. I mean, it's a bit bassy because I'm using only the middle speaker. The two side speakers are going to a dummy load, so it's to be expected. That is a weak station, should be, and it's not too bad. This is actually a station from the Canary Islands on FM at lunchtime, so that's very unusual. So in terms of reception, it's very good. I normally don't pick up any Canary Island FM stations during the day, only at night, and here we have one. So there's our Magic Eye working perfectly as well, and it's pretty strong. That's a very strong station, as you can tell. So of course, all I need to do now is move the whole band down. And that's it for now. It'll be pretty soon that I get the final video out on the FM section. But I want to thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please click like, share the video on social media, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.